Hi, Mama MacGyver here. We are 37 and a half weeks pregnant, so baby is gonna be arriving soon. And this is my helper here today. We're making chocolate chip cookies. This is my and she decided that we're gonna make banana, so she added a little bit of banana into the cookies, which is not what I normally do, but that's okay. You can make it your own. You can put bananas in there if you really want. I suggest soft bananas that are a little bit overripe, of course. So for
and also you could cut it if you want to.
And she cut it up into little pieces. It was quite adorable. Yes. So okay, you need to wait. So she's gonna help me put our ingredients. She's anxious to get our ingredients in there, but I wanted to say a couple things really quick. The cookies that I make are low on the glycemic index, also high in fiber, higher in protein. They're not vegan, but you can make them vegan by putting in an egg substitute of some sort. Some people use, I've heard you mix vinegar with a couple ingredients. You can also make them vegan by eliminating the butter. There's not very much butter, so it's easy to eliminate. You can put some applesauce or banana is actually one of the substitutes suggested instead of butter as well. But I'm going to show you what I do to make them high protein, high fiber, and low on the glycemic index, and then you can adapt it to whatever else you would like. You can also add walnuts or almonds or any other pecans maybe if you would like to add a little bit more of the protein and omega oils as well in there. So, okay, so what we have so far in here is basically our liquids. We have some banana that she added. I do 3 eggs because I like to do a little bit more eggs. If you want to stick to egg whites and avoid some of the cholesterol in the yolk, you can do 4 egg whites, or you can do 3 eggs or an egg substitute. Okay, and then I only did like a half a stick of butter, not very much. That's about 3 tablespoons. And you could probably do even less or substitute something like banana or applesauce. Also, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And then we have our vanilla. I'm gonna put the vanilla in. You ready?
Okay.
She's gonna put our vanilla in.
Carefully.
Yeah, don't drop it.
Careful not to put the bowl in.
Okay, vanilla. And then I like to use agave syrup because it is lower on the glycemic index. The type of sugar in it is a plant sugar instead of the finely processed sugar that we have from the store. The granulated sugar is higher on the glucose than the sucrose. Sucrose is the plant length. Okay, so agave syrup, 2 tablespoons of that. All right, so I'm gonna add, and then we're gonna mix that up, and then we're gonna add in our dry ingredients. Okay, just mixing that up.
Mix, 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 mix. I'm using their shoes, their dress-up shoes.
Okay, then I actually really like to add protein powder. I prefer the Young Living protein powder. They have a couple different ones. They have Balance Complete, which is kind of a meal replacement one that has a lot of good vitamins in it. Or they also have Amino Wise, which is a good protein with the aminos, and there's another protein complex that they have as well that's great. So anyway, so protein powder, a nice good scoop of that, and mix that into the liquids. Okay, and then we add our sugar. So because we're trying to stay lower on the glycemic index, I go with brown sugar. It's less processed. It has takes a little bit more for our bodies to process it, which means we're not going to be having as much of a blood sugar spike when we do. This is about 3/4 of a cup. You can do a little bit less if you want, depending on how much sweetness you like to have in your cookies. I'm okay with cookies that are not that sweet. As long as I still have my chocolate, I'm happy. But we do already have the some banana, which adds sweetness, and the agave, which is adding sweetness as well. So we're adding our sugar in there. Okay, and letting that mix really well. Okay, and then then we've got our baking soda and baking powder. I like to do both, especially when I'm using gluten-free flour. For whatever reason, I seem to have better results in baking items when I use about a tablespoon of both baking soda and baking powder. Okay, you want to put that one in? Yeah. All right, we'll turn it off for a second. You got it? You have to kind of tap it. She is my good helper. Now, you do not have to do it in a mixer like this. You can just use a whisk with your mixing bowl. I find it's easier to get a smoother texture when you mix your liquid ingredients and then add the dry in. But you don't really have to do that way. You just may have to work a little harder to incorporate everything together. Okay, so we're gonna mix that in, and then we'll add our flours. Now I'm using about 1.5 cups of all-purpose gluten-free flour. You can actually use just rice flour, you can use almond flour, you can use oat flour. I like using a blend. It seems to have a nicer texture when you have multiple different grains in there. So this is the all-purpose. That's a blend of a few different types of gluten-free flours. Some people really love using buckwheat flour. That is considered gluten-free, even though it's related to the wheat plant. So buckwheat, and the other one is acorn flour is another one that is very, very low on the glucose index, and most people with gluten intolerances are okay with that. But you know yourself and what your body's going to be able to tolerate. So if you need to stick with all-purpose gluten-free flour, go ahead and do that, or you can substitute the type of flour that you like, as long as it has a nice texture to it that's not going to be too clumpy or coarse. Cookies is nice because you don't have to have as smooth of a texture as cake. With cake, you really want a very light and fluffy flour. Cookies, you can have a little bit more grainness to it, and that's why I actually add oatmeal as well. So I add about 3/4 cup of oatmeal and about 1.5 cups of flour. If you don't like oatmeal or have issues with oatmeal, you can just do 2 cups of your gluten-free flour of choice, or your flour of choice if you... And she's over here trying to eat all my chocolate chips, of course. Okay, tap it just gently. Okay. Tap, 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 tap. And then the oatmeal is next. Okay, I'm gonna add the oatmeal. So this is about 7 ingredients, give or take, and again, you can customize it to what kind of flour you like. Substituting the eggs, skipping the butter, and doing something else to substitute. It's up to you. Okay, good job. We're gonna mix.
Mixy. I put in a little bit of chocolate chip.
Yeah, okay, ready for the chocolate chips?
Yep, I want to put them in.
Put the chocolate chips in. Now, with the gluten-free cookies, I find that the texture is a little bit more on the liquidy side than I found when I used to make like regular glutinous cookies. So that's okay if it's a little bit more on the liquidy side. And I'll show you the texture here. See if you can see a little bit closer. So you can kind of see it's a little bit more on the liquidy side, and that's okay. You want to have enough of texture to it that when you put it on your tray, it's not making a puddle, but it doesn't have to be, you know, like where you roll it in a ball and it stays in a ball necessarily. Okay guys, so all we're gonna do is put these on our baking sheet and cook them. So I hope you enjoy these gluten-free cookies, and comment below if you would like any more information about the recipe or other suggestions on substitutions or anything like that. Otherwise, enjoy.